Richard Goodall, who won America's Got Talent, is back in Indiana tonight. That's right. When he woke up, he went back to work at the school where he first gained fame. The real story didn't end with the standing applause, though. Richard's life changed when the stage went dark and quiet. No one saw it coming. There were turns, wins, and decisions that shocked even his biggest fans. What he's about to do next could be his bravest move yet. How Richard got to be on America's Got Talent. Richard Goodall's story is one of those unusual ones that seems almost too good to be true. A man who had spent most of his life working quietly as a janitor in the halls of a middle school in Terre Haute, Indiana, found himself in front of the whole world with nothing but his voice to win their hearts. But what happened after the cheers, the news stories, and the stage lights went down was the part of Richard's journey that no one was ready for. Richard Goodall was born in Indianapolis, but Terre Haute was where he spent most of his life and worked. He didn't just work as a cleaner at West Vigo Middle School for more than 20 years, he was a part of the crew. He became a regular part of school life. They knew him as the friendly janitor who kept the halls clean, but they also knew him as the janitor with a great singing voice. Richard was always good at performing, but he never made a living at it. A lot of the time, he sang while working, and the school was always full of music. Over time, the staff and students loved hearing him sing, and they would stop to listen whenever his voice could be heard down the hall. This was the size of Richard's following for years. People in his town looked up to him, and the kids loved him, but the thought of performing on a national stage seemed very far away. That changed in 2022, when a video of him singing Don't Stop Believin' by Journey was posted online. It was easy for the movie to get around TikTok. All of a sudden, people outside of Terre Haute heard the sound of the singing janitor. The video clip was shared thousands of times in just a few days, and within weeks, it was being talked about by news sites across the country. Even more important, it got to the people who make America's Got Talent. When Richard was asked to try out, it changed his life and brought him some firsts. Besides never having been away from home for a long time, he had never flown either. He got on a plane for the first time in May 2024 and flew west past Missouri to Los Angeles for the interview that would change his life. There was no way to say that Richard was a skilled performer when he walked onto the America's Got Talent stage. The man was in his middle years and had worked in schools all his life. Now he was standing in front of judges, cameras, and a huge crowd. But as soon as he started singing Don't Stop Believin', his nerves went away and he was filled with feeling. Both the crowd and the judges were deeply moved by his raw and powerful performance. That performance was what made the difference. The panel wasn't the only one who liked it. It put him right in the public eye in a way he could never have imagined. The golden buzzer moment made sure he would be on the live shows, and millions of people became interested in his journey almost right away. The interview video went viral very quickly on the web, getting tens of millions of views and turning Richard into an internet star. News stories said that his was one of the most moving stories in the show's history. He became a symbol for many of hard work, hope, and the idea that it's never too late to change the course of your life. The way Richard did in the competition showed everyone how much he loved music and how his song choices were connected to his life. He sang How Am I Supposed to Live Without You by Michael Bolton in the quarterfinals. This performance also had a special value. He gave it to Angie Van Oven, his fiancée, because she had been a constant in his life and shaped him. People felt what Richard was singing, and the performance showed that his voice was more than just technically good. It was heavy with the weight of real experience and feeling. From the first round to the semifinals, Richard showed that he was more than just a viral hit, he was also a real fighter. He picked the Survivor song Eye of the Tiger, which called for strength and energy. He made a brave choice that brought out a different side of his singing. He did it with grit and drive, and people praised his ability to change while still being himself. He went back to Journey music in the playoffs with the song Faithfully. This was more than just a show for the rivals. On top of that, it was a very personal moment. Before America's Got Talent, Richard had been singing this song to Angie. Now he was letting everyone know about it. Everything Richard had worked for came together in the grand finish. He sang Don't Stop Believin' again, but this time he wasn't the only one singing. There was Neil Schon and other members of Journey with him on stage. Their music had brought him to this point. He had never thought that this dream could come true. Being next to the artists who had inspired him from the start. It was more than just a show. It was a celebration of his rise from the basement of an Indiana school to the biggest stage in the United States. Britain's Got Talent Season 19 winner Richard Goodall was named in September 2024. With the win came a $1 million prize and the approval of millions of watchers who had been watching since his audition. But even in the middle of this life-changing event, Richard had other important moments in his life. He married Angie Vinavan in Pasadena, California, just 6 days before the finale. This combined his success on stage with a personal success in his personal life. Everything about this part of Richard's trip was amazing, but what happened after the party was just as important. It wasn't the end of his story when he won the show. It marked the start of a whole new story. Behind the thrill of the win, Richard had to deal with personal problems, new demands, and the harsh realities of life without the spotlight. The fights that go on behind the voice. There is a story behind every strong voice. And Richard Goodall's singing does more than just sound like music. It holds loss, suffering, and strength. There were sad parts on his way to becoming America's Got Talent winner, even though it seemed like he became famous quickly. And many failures over the years that made him strong. These things he went through gave his acts more depth and let people feel the honest truth in every song he sang. One awful thing Richard has been through is the death of a spouse, which is one of the worst things that can happen to a person. Patrick Sue Goodall, Richard's first wife, died in 2021 after a long fight with kidney cancer. He felt a huge hole in his life after she died. Richard had made many memories with her over the years. She died so quickly, putting him through a period of sadness that changed everything that happened afterward. Once he was on America's Got Talent and sang songs about love, strength, and holding on, it wasn't just a show, it was an expression. His voice was filled with passion because of that personal loss, and people could relate to it because it was so real. Besides being sad, Richard had health problems that made his life hard. In 2024, just 1 month after his big win, Richard had surgery for a hernia, which was a surprise setback. Being told to slow down so quickly after the high of one of the hardest times in his life, both physically and emotionally, wasn't just a task. It was really hard. He got stronger and more confident after his recovery, and it changed the way he took care of himself. Richard's strength goes all the way back to when he was a child in Indiana. During his childhood, he lived in a simple home and didn't have much money. Even though life wasn't always smooth, music was always there. He found that singing helped him deal with his problems and rise above them. It was never about money or fame. His voice was important to him, and he loved sharing it. He got through hard times thanks to his love of music, which also set him on the path that would eventually take him to a national stage. But Richard knew what it was like to be turned down before he got his big break. He tried out for The Voice, another talent show, a long time before America's Got Talent. That attempt did not work, and that would have been enough for many people to give up. There was no way Richard would give up, though. He kept singing, practicing, and sharing his sound with anyone who would listen, even after being turned down. In hindsight, those turns down were part of what made his ultimate win so important. That he could keep going even when things were cut off could lead to bigger things. When the flu hit, things really broke down again. Richard used to play in a church band that played shows often, but the sudden power outages forced the group to break up. Another blow was losing that group of artists. It meant there were fewer chances to act and connect with people. Richard didn't let that stop him. He turned his attention back to singing by himself. This change helped him find his own way and got him ready for the time when America's Got Talent would start. Despite the problems, there were also gifts that came out of the blue. Richard met Angie Van Oven, the woman he would marry in 2022. And their relationship grew into a lot more than just a sexual one. He felt safe with her around. She pushed him and liked his songs. And helped him believe in himself when he started to question himself. Stood by him as he went through America's Got Talent. Their friendship became one of the most important parts of his story. But Angie had a bigger effect on Richard's life than that. She was very important in helping him get in touch with a part of his past that he had never seen before. With her help, Richard was able to find his real father, who was a former K-9 officer and Army veteran. 3 decades had passed since Richard had last seen him, but they finally met in 2025. That meeting was more than just getting to know each other. Richard could fill a hole in his life that had been there his whole life with the start of a new relationship. He told everyone on social media, "Thanks to Ancestry and Angie, I found my biological father." He used to be a police dog handler in Indianapolis and is also a former Army veteran. As you might guess, he was shocked to learn this after all these years. He has a kid. He didn't even know I existed, but I can't tell you the whole story. He also played the guitar, drums, and mandolin. Thank you so much, Angie. I wouldn't have tried to look if she wasn't there. In addition to meeting his father, Richard found out he had 3 brothers he didn't know about. That he felt like he belonged and that his life was over was a surprise at this point in time. It was both emotional and useful for him to get to America's Got Talent. There were costs involved in getting to Los Angeles, living in hotels, and taking time off work. Fans stepped in to help Richard because his story touched so many people in his neighborhood. Reports said that his fans raised money on the internet to pay for his travel, which let him take advantage of the chance without having to worry about money. The huge amount of support he got showed how much people believed in his story and his skills. It was no longer true that he was just the singing school cleaner in Indiana. A lot of people wanted him to do well on the national stage. People who watched Richard sing on TV heard that his voice wasn't just the result of work or natural talent. The voice belonged to someone who had been through loss, illness, rejection, and starting over. All of these bad things that happened and good things that happened shaped the man who took the stage on America's Got Talent. Still, winning the race didn't erase the hard times in the past, and it didn't promise an easy path forward. Richard had to deal with a new reality after the cameras stopped rolling. Being famous came with new challenges, demands, and changes to how he lived his life. Being the winner of America's Got Talent was just the beginning of his life after the show. After the win, life. Getting through America's Got Talent. That moment in 2024 could have made a huge difference in Richard Goodall's life. The $1 million prize, the attention from people all over the country, and the chances that came with it seemed to put him on the path to becoming a full-time star. But what surprised a lot of people was how little his daily life changed when the cameras were away. Richard decided to go back to his job as a janitor, which he had had for more than 20 years, instead of leaving the halls of West Vigo Middle School. This choice showed what Richard was and still is at his core. Most people who win talent shows look for record deals and move to bigger towns. Richard, on the other hand, went back to the school where he had grown up. He had always loved singing, but it was never a way for him to get away from the life he was living. Just like he did before his audition, he kept the school clean by sweeping the floors, cleaning the classes, and keeping things in order. Now, the only change was that everyone in the country knew his name. "A few weeks ago," he said, "I'm still at the school, but you know, things are going on behind the scenes. There are more and more shows. There are so many great things happening right now that I'll keep working at the school until I can't." Richard was able to share his voice in places he never thought possible after winning America's Got Talent. As soon as he won, he was asked to act at important public events. He brought his voice from the school halls to a packed sports arena when he sang at an Indiana Pacers game. He also played at the Circle of Lights, an annual event in Indianapolis that is loved by many and gets huge crowds every year. After that, he went to California to open for Howie Mandel, one of the judges who had seen him win on TV across the country. He also took part in the Riverside Festival of Lights, which made him even more well-known as a singer who could easily go from small-town stages to big parties. The honor was just as important back in Terre Haute. People in his neighborhood knew him as a TV star and loved him as a family member. The city gave him a key, which is a special award that is only given to one person, who have a big effect on the people around them. At West Vigo Middle School, there was a pep parade in his honor. Students and staff celebrated the man they had always known as more than just a security guard. For the school, Richard's success showed that everyday places could give rise to big dreams. In spite of everything, Richard stayed humble, which is what made people love him in the first place. In his posts on social media, he often showed bits of his life. He hadn't given up his roots for fame, as these posts showed. People kept seeing pictures of him waxing floors, cleaning cafeterias, and laughing with students. This reminded fans that he was still the same person who had been sweeping floors for a long time before anyone outside of Terre Haute knew his name. There were times when people asked Richard how he managed his fame and normal life. He always said that he was the same person, but with a microphone in his hand. It was an easy way for him to say how he felt about himself. Not as a famous person, but as someone whose life had grown to include stages and crowds outside of Indiana. He talked about how the show changed his life and said, "For my wife and me, this is the first time our life has been unscripted. Besides the money, America's Got Talent has changed our lives and opened up a lot of doors for us right now." Richard was different from many other winners because he chose to stay in the real world after winning America's Got Talent. Music and fame couldn't take the place of the life he had already made. Instead, they were added on to it. The man from Indiana who used to sing in the school halls was now the same person who played music at festivals, basketball games, and other special events. Fans liked both his voice and the fact that he wouldn't let success change who he was. But his humility became part of his brand. But these acts and awards also hinted at the start of something bigger. Richard never quit his job at West Vigo Middle School, but the chances he had to sing kept growing. What began as a film that went viral had now turned into a chain of invitations sent all over the country. With each show, award, and public event, they built on their music career, which was just starting to take shape. The start of a career in music. When Richard Goodall won America's Got Talent, he didn't go straight into the music business. He stayed stable, kept his job at West Vigo Middle School, and performed at events while he thought about what to do next. He said, "I'm still working at the school." This was in reference to his plans to start a job in show business. "We will have to wait and see if this makes people happy. We had a great time even if it doesn't happen. I want to prove to the entertainment business that I can do it. The change doesn't happen overnight. Before they hire you to do something, people want you to show them what you can do." Richard just recently made it public that his first single, "Long Time Coming," will be out on August 29, 2025. Fans had watched the man's story from school hallways to the America's Got Talent stage, so the title seemed right for him. He had been waiting decades to share his voice with the world on a professional level. Richard had teased parts of the process on social media in the months before the songs came out. He showed pictures and short videos from recording sessions in Nashville, which has been known for a long time as the music capital of the United States. Richard also joined a local band called Sugar Street, which let him keep playing live while he worked on his solo business. Through the collaboration, he was able to combine shows in the community with the bigger chances that were now opening up for him across the country. At the same time, he started working with professional music management. This showed that he was ready to go beyond small venues in his home country. People interested in his story started to come from outside of music. Publishing companies got in touch about the chance of a book deal, and brands began talking about endorsements. Many people liked the idea of Richard writing a memoir about his life because it would show how deep his journey was and how many obstacles he had overcome. Angie, his wife, suggested that there might be a movie, which made rumors even stronger. Richard, who is known for his sense of humor, joked that Zac Efron could play him if the project ever came to life. In August 2025, Richard went back to America's Got Talent for the show's 20th anniversary special. This was one of the most public events in this new part of his life. This show was a party and a coming full circle moment. As he started the show, he sang "Eye of the Tiger," the song that got him to the semifinals during his champion season. But this time, he wasn't by himself. America's Got Talent contestants from all over the show's past helped put on the big show. The packed drumline from season 17 gave the music more flow and power. The dancers from Los Osos High School who competed in season 19 made the stage lively and full of motion. Not only that, but Avery Dixon, the saxophonist who became famous across the country in season 17, also played his unique sound. Because they worked together, Richard's return was more than just a single show. It was a party to honor how America's Got Talent had brought together different kinds of artists over the years. At the same time, it was a strange reminder for Richard of how far he had come since his first nervous tryout. During the show, Richard watched his first audition again and thought about it. When he saw himself singing "Don't Stop Believin'" before the world knew his name, it made him feel very sad. He thought about how much his life had changed in just over a year, from cleaning floors in Terre Haute to performing on stage with artists from all over the world. Richard said that coming back was strange and life-changing, not because of the cameras or lights, but because it made him think of the trip that had brought him there. No longer was his story just about a cleaner whose voice shocked everyone. It turned into a story about a man who became famous in music while keeping close to his roots. What is Richard Goodall going to do next? Richard Goodall's story didn't end when he won America's Got Talent. It might have even been the start of a new story. Richard is already making plans for a music career. He has a new song out, has performed on big stages, and has a growing fan base. He has been thinking about the life he wants to build with his wife Angie away from the press, though. Richard's next step is to make plans to quit his job as a cleaner at West Vigo Middle School, where he has worked for a long time. He met his community and worked at the school for more than 20 years. It was there that he became known as the singing cleaner. Now that he is known across the country and has new possibilities, he is starting to think about leaving the work that has been a big part of his life. Moving on doesn't mean giving up what the school taught him, it means finally getting to enjoy the fruits of his years of hard work and commitment. Moving to a warmer place is part of that goal. Reports say that Richard and Angie have talked about moving to Florida, which has beaches, sunshine, and a slower pace of life that would be perfect for their new start. The couple wants to start this new part of their lives in a place that makes them feel like they can start over after years of hard times. One of Richard's main goals is for them to buy a new house together. This will give them security and the chance to make memories in a place they choose. Richard is working hard to make his music business bigger than just his first single. He has said that he would like to work with Simon Cowell, who helped find out about his ability on America's Got Ability. Working with someone who has helped singers grow for decades could help Richard find new opportunities as he learns how to work in the music business. At the same time, he keeps looking into live performance chances, recording sessions, and even the idea of making a full album someday. Richard wants to make a bigger name for himself in the music business, but he has made it clear that he doesn't want to lose touch with the people who helped him get there. Richard will always remember how important the people in his town were to his journey, from the kids at his school to his fans. He has been actively giving back by interacting with friends online, going to local events, and using his fame to encourage people who feel like they have been ignored or undervalued. He wants other people to see that chances can come up at any point in their lives by telling their own story. For Richard, the future is now open in a way it never was before. He was a man sweeping floors and cleaning classrooms a year before his tryout. He carried his love of music with him in a quiet way. Right now he is on the edge of new opportunities. Singles, albums, partnerships, and rebuilding his personal life after a rough patch. When people ask him what's next, he often thinks about that difference. In his own words, there's no stopping him. I didn't expect to do all of this. The future hasn't been written yet. I was just the guy who took out the trash and cleaned the tables a year ago, but now there are a lot of options. Richard has a long way to go. What started in the hallway of a school has spread to stages all over the country and into the hearts of millions of people. He will find out how far his music career can go, how he can balance fame with family, and how he wants to continue his story in the next part. Richard Goodall's future will be shaped by the same traits that got him this far: humility, determination, and an unwavering love for music. This is true whether he is in Florida on tour or back in Terre Haute celebrating with his community. What kind of artist do you want Richard Goodall to work with? Leave a comment below and tell us. Remember to click on the next video on your screen if you liked this one. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to our station.